Welcome to the PMdistilled Guide, Chapter 2. In this video, we'll discuss about collecting the detailed requirements, the product breakdown structure, the work breakdown structure, bill of quantities, cost estimation and budgeting, organizational breakdown structure, RASI chart, and control accounts. Requirements collection. For collecting the detailed requirements, the tools and techniques we use are basically we do interviews, questionnaires and surveys, workshops and focus groups, observation, document analysis, prototyping, use cases, and brainstorming. Interviews, we interview the key stakeholders to really understand their requirements. Questionnaires and surveys we float or we administer, so that through questionnaires and surveys we can gather requirements. And workshops and focus groups, this is a focus discussion of selected people or experts, and they will provide the details, additional details required for building the product. Observation, this is about observing how people work. That itself can give us a lot of additional requirements. Then document analysis, like the contract document reviews, minutes of the meeting, of the past meeting, past discussions, etc., statement of work, etc., will give us a lot of additional information. Prototyping, especially this building information modeling is widely used in the construction industry. Or we make prototypes and give a demo of the prototype to the customer, so that they get a better idea about what they are going to get, and that is one way of gathering requirements. Then use cases, we use use case diagrams or user stories, etc. So as a new user, what are things you want to do? While making payments, what are things you want to do? As an expert user, what are things you want to do? As an administrator, what are things you want to do? So these are examples of use cases. We'll discuss about user stories in detail when we get into agile project management. Then brainstorming is about a group of people getting into a room and brainstorming about ideas. The key thing here is there is a moderator, and while brainstorming, there is no validation of the ideas. Then, as discussed, interviews. The key thing here is we need to factor in the time and cost required for all these things into the schedule as well as to the project budget. That is the key aspect. We cannot miss them out. Then once the detailed requirements are known, then slowly we create the product breakdown structure, which is also known as the PBS. Now here is an example of a website, product breakdown structure of a website. So here we should have user management for new user, existing user, and password management. And it should have a payment modules which should deal with credit cards, debit cards, interbank transfer, and PayPal. And it should have pages for products and services, and then case studies, and an admin module, etc., etc. So this just gives the breakup of the breakup of the product. We call it as a product breakdown structure. Then comes the next step is from the product breakdown structure, we arrive at a work breakdown structure. So on the product breakdown structure, we superimpose the actual work that need to be performed to build the product. Thus, we arrive at the work breakdown structure, or the WBS. WBS has multiple levels, like level 1, level 2, level 3. It can go up to 5, 6, and 7, depending on the size of the project. The lowest level of the WBS, we get the work packages. So if you really look at this diagram, L1 is not a work package because it has elements below it. L2 is a work package because it doesn't have any packages below it. L1.1 is not a work package because it has two elements below it. L1.1.1 is a work package. L1.1.2 is a work package. L1.3.1 is a work package. L1.3.2 is a work package. And L1.3.3 is also a work package. So work packages are the lowest element in a WBS. We call as the work packages. Once the work packages are identified, then we define a WBS dictionary. A WBS dictionary provides additional information about the work packages, like what are the predecessor activities, what are the successor activities to be performed, what are the quality standards to be followed, etc., etc. And once the work packages are finalized, the next step is to decompose those work packages into activities, and we arrive at the activity list. And here there are terms like 880 rule. An 880 rule suggests that work packages should be between 8 hours work and 80 hours of chunks of work. So for small project, the work packages should be towards that 8-hour chunks, whereas for large projects, work packages can be towards 80 hours chunks of work. We call it as 880, 880, 880 rule. This is very critical because if for smaller projects, if we have very large work packages, by the time we monitor them once or twice, the project will get over. And similarly, for large projects, if we have very small work packages, we'll end up doing micromanagement. So this is very handy because when we do the work WBS, we will not know when to stop. But by the time we reach level 3, 4, 5, we realize that, okay, now these work packages are falling between 8 and 80 hours. That means we have sufficient detail. Then we can stop decomposing the WBS. While doing a WBS, we will not decompose it to activity level. We stop at a work package level. That is known as 880 rule. Work packages should be between 8 hours and 80 hours chunks of work. Then we have 100% rule. The entire scope of the project must be present in the work breakdown structure. In other words, the 100% of the scope must be in the work packages. Otherwise, when you deliver the final product, we will miss out a lot of things. That is the 100% rule. Sorry. Then we have 80-20 principle. Maybe 20% of the work packages incur 80% of the cost. That is an 80-20. WBS dictionary we already discussed, because at a work package level, we have another documentation which provides additional information about the work packages. We call it as WBS dictionary. It may have start date, end date, predecessor activities, successor activities, the quality standards that must be followed while performing it, etc., etc. Uh, WBS is very, very important because once the WBS is finalized, now the rest of the planning will be based on the work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structure can be of two types, a tree structure as well as the list structure. Diagrams of this is given in the PMdistilled guide in detail. Then once the work breakdown structure is done, then it is a good time to go to uh, defining the organization breakdown structure, like the team structure for the project manager, HR manager, quality manager, construction manager, planning manager, procurement manager, etc., etc. Now we have the work breakdown structure and we have the project team structure, or the OBS, the project's organization breakdown structure. Now, this is when we can map the work packages to the uh, organization breakdown structure. So here we say spread footers work package will be done by civil construction. So one side we create the WBS, on the other side we create the organization breakdown structure, and then we link them. Uh, we allocate which work package will be done by uh, which unit in the organization breakdown structure. Those linkages we establish, and at the same time, at a work package level, we define the budget. We call it as a control account. Work package name is scope description, work responsibility, contractor, discipline, lead person, etc. Budget, the cost we should provide, and how much resources required, etc., etc., becomes the part of the control account. Every work package will be associated to a control account. Uh, Now, this is a RACI chart. RACI, R stands for responsible, A stands for accountable, C stands for consultative, and I stands for information. Now, here, if you see program management, program manager can as program management, here nobody is responsible or accountable. Strategic planning, Ken as the program manager is responsible. Project manager John P is as a consultative role, and project controller Julie O must be provided with the information. So then again, project staffing, Ken S is accountable for it, John P is responsible, and Julie O information should go to her. Reports and analysis, Ken S should have the information, John P is accountable, Julie O is responsible, and David J must be consulted for it. So a RACI chart helps us to define the roles and responsibilities very, very clearly. There are variants of RACI chart. This is RACI. Sometimes we get RASCI. S stands for sign off. Then comes cost estimation. There are different types of estimate. Rough order of magnitude estimate, also known as ROM. The expected accuracy levels are -50 to 100%. Then we have budgetary estimate. The expected accuracy levels are between plus or minus 20%. And we have definitive estimate. The expected accuracy levels are plus or minus 5%. These are the different types of estimate based on their accuracy levels. Then estimation techniques. The first one is the analogous estimation. That means we have done a similar activity in the past. So I can take that number and incorporate into the current estimate. That is based on comparison. We call it as analogous estimation. Then parametric estimation. We have done a similar activity multiple times in the past so that we can take an average or an index that is parametric. For example, cost per square feet is a good example for parametric estimation. Then 3-point estimation. For every estimation, we come out with three numbers. One is the optimistic number, then the pessimistic number, and the most likely number. Then we add up these three and divide it by 3. For example, for traveling from point A to point B, maybe the optimistic estimate can be 1 hour, pessimistic estimate can be 2 hours, and the most likely can be 1.5 hours. Then we add up all these three and then divide it by 3. That is the one form of 3-point estimate. Then we have the second variant, that is optimistic plus 4 into most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6. So optimistic plus 4 times most likely plus pessimistic divided by 6. These two comes under 3-point estimate. Then we have a bottom-up estimation. In the previous slide, we saw the work breakdown structure, work packages, and the work packages are broken down into activities. And once we know the activities, it is a good idea to estimate the activities and then you add it up and see whether it matches with the work package level estimate. So if there is a huge difference, most probably the top down estimate is wrong, whereas the bottom up estimation is always more accurate because we are estimating at the activity level and then aggregating it up. So these are the various types of estimate and the various uh, techniques for estimation. And once the estimates are done, then we can spread it on a timeline. Now here, month 1, 1,000, month 2, 2,500, month 3, 3,000, month 4, 2,000, month 5, 5,000, etc. So if you know the activity start date and end date, or the work package level start date and end date, from that we can arrive at the month-wise cost estimate. Uh, then to that cost estimate, we add contingency reserve and management reserve. When we say contingency reserve, at the work package level, at the activity level, sometimes things can go wrong, or we might have missed out something, or there can be cost escalation. In that case, we use the contingency reserve. And most probably, the project manager has the authority to do to use the contingency reserve. Then we have another category of buffer, that is the management reserve. This can be used only with the consent of the senior management, and this is basically for scope changes. So if we come out with a cost estimate, and to the cost estimate we add the contingency reserve as well as the management reserve, and we arrive at a cost baseline. Once the cost is baselined, any changes to it needs approval from the senior management. Now, the key points we discussed here are the collect detailed requirements we discussed, the tools and techniques used for collecting the detailed requirements we discussed. We discussed about the product breakdown structure we discussed. And then we discussed about the work breakdown structure. And once we have the work breakdown structure, then uh, and once we know the activities as well, then from there we can arrive at the bill of quantities of manpower required, material required, and the equipments required. We call it as the bill of quantities. And once we have the bill of quantities, then our cost estimation can be very accurate. And to the cost estimate, we add contingency reserve as well as management reserve, and you spread it across a timeline, then we arrive at the budget. We also discussed about organization breakdown structure. We discussed about RASI chart, and we also discussed about control accounts. Now I request you to go to the PMdistilled guide, chapter 2, and go through the pages there so that you get more information about the topics we discussed right now. Thank you.